Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Inside Lowell Daily Pulse, the Wednesday, September 10th edition of the Daily Pulse. I'm your host, Teddy Panos, coming here from the Well Point Studios here in beautiful downtown Lowell on the morning after, as we like to call it, the morning after the city's preliminary election, which saw voters in 3 districts head to the polls. And quite frankly, if you watched our broadcast last night with Jerry Nutter doing the results show, and Jimmy Leary and Bill Samaras and Greg Pappas and Asa Stutz and even yours truly, everybody was shocked by what transpired last night. A good night for the challengers, a bad night for the incumbents. What does it mean going forward into November? Well, who better to talk to about that than our special guest here again on the Daily Pulse, former Lowell mayor, although now based on a podcast that we recorded earlier this morning that will air tomorrow. I need to call you Your Worship.
That's okay. I have no problem with that.
Bill Samaras is here. Thanks for coming back so soon in the morning, for not just for one, but for 2 podcasts after I worked you late at night last night.
We're a little sleepy. Okay.
And we got out of here early, thankfully.
I know it.
Everything went smoothly. We posted the results on the show. I do want to apologize. I made a typo. In one of the Belvedere precincts, I gave Belinda Duran 141 votes when she really had 41. So it didn't affect the order or the outcome. It did affect the margin of victory, but I apologize for that mistake. I will do better next time, but we got a lot of races to recap. We got a lot of things to talk about with His Worship, former Mayor Samaras. First, let me thank our Daily Pulse sponsors, Ray Booten, licensed realtor in Mass and New Hampshire, certified appraiser in both states as well. So if you want to buy or sell a home, a business, or a commercial property, get in touch with Ray Booten today. Find him easily enough online, realestaterayBooten.com. Thanks as well to WellPoint. WellPoint, the only health plan offering healthcare benefits exclusively to Massachusetts GIC members. At WellPoint, your whole health is their whole point. Well, thanks some other sponsors, but all right, you gave us your reaction last night, former Mayor Samaras. You had an opportunity to sleep on it, not too much.
Not too much.
All right, have you digested what happened last night, and what happened?
I think so. There's many ways of looking at this. You could say it was an anti-incumbent. I don't believe it was an anti-incumbent. But what it seems to be, some people going in a different direction, a little different direction, I will say a little more liberal direction, garnering the votes. And their people went out last night to vote. That's one thing about a primary. There's one thing that happens to a primary for a candidate who's in office. He or she, once the primary is over, if they did well, they know what they've been doing is well perceived by the people. If they do poorly, they haven't been doing their homework properly, they haven't assessed what's been going on, and they need to work harder. And usually what happens, they work harder, and in most cases, they win in the regular election. But this here, there's an indication to me that it's with the candidates who surprisingly, went ahead, have in general a far more liberal background, or their campaign literature points to that, and they won.
Yeah, there was a lot of analysis
or did well.
From here, from the WellPoint studios, but also out there in the community. My phone was blowing up right up until 11:30 at night, and some folks said, hey, the left flexed its muscles last night. They got their voters to the poll, albeit not in large numbers, except maybe in Belvedere. And we're going to break down every race and look at the numbers. But the question that now remains is, all right, did they took the first punch?
Yeah.
You get the person who punches last is the one that wins the fight. Do they have more muscle to flex going into November, or will the people who took the punch, the incumbents, the 2 that lived to fight another day, will they fight back and then show that ultimately they had more muscle?
Well, Can I twist it around a little different
Of
way?
course you can. Your worship. You
Okay.
can do anything you
Well,
want. I'm worshiping you.
But in the past, what has happened, then usually the Lowell Sun and its editorial staff would assess what happened in the election, and then they would make a decision as to who they would support for the election. And usually after they would do multiple stories, editorials, and whoever they wanted, in most cases, would win. But the Lowell Sun does not have that structure anymore. I don't see it that way anymore. So what's happening now is how do these people, what are they going to do? How are they going to get their message out to the, we'll say, greater majority who is not as involved in issues as the people who voted in the primary? People who voted in the primary either did it because someone was their friend, or they like their politics and they want to support their politics. And the people who come out during the regular election are people who live a daily life and will try to look for the best candidate they can. And they usually will say centrist, middle of the road people.
So a couple of interesting points you made there. Let's talk about media influence and where that influence is today, or where it may have shifted. So you highlighted the Lowell Sun used to determine who they wanted. They did endorsements, and was it 1993 or 1995? It was that famous Songus Arena vote where the preliminary went against all the people who wanted to throw the bums out and not use taxpayer dollars on the arena, and then the general election, a complete turnover. You know, my former colleague at WCAP, 𝐃𝐚𝐢𝐥𝐲 talked about that. She finished third or fourth in the preliminary and then out of the money in the general, and she blamed the Lowell Sun and their campaign for going after. But that was in the 90s when newspapers still had some clout, and it wasn't just the Lowell Sun.
And large circulations.
It was the Globe, it was the Herald, it was the Manchester Union Leader with New Hampshire's first in the nation primary. Their endorsement mattered. Fast forward to 2017. Here I am on radio. I'm railing against that high school project in downtown and pushing for Belvedere. The Lowell Sun editorial board, ultimately, I think, between Jim Campanini and Chris Scott, pushed for a new school at Colley Stadium. Kendall Wallace was always keep it downtown. He still had some clout. But in 2017, the media was pushing a narrative, and the voters said, we're doing this. And I started to wonder, how much clout do those of us in the media we really have?
Well,
and now 8 years later with social media, is social media the king, and do the candidates control their own broadcast entity?
I think social media and the podcasts, because the podcasts, people are going to follow podcasts that really discuss their way of thinking to get more knowledge and what have you. So I think as you develop your own podcast, you're just reaching out into more and more areas. And that's where people are seeking their information. It's trust that you build up as a podcast person. The papers, in a sense, have lost that trust. The newscast, general news, has lost that trust. So what's going on at the federal level has created, a minefield of problems.
Nobody trusts the media. And I will say, and I showed you the stats from our YouTube channel and our other podcast sources. The most watched podcast of the 3 debates we did wasn't Belvedere, even though there was a good number there. It wasn't the Upper Highlands, even though a good number of people. I'm sorry, not the Acre. A good number of people saw that debate, but it was in the Highlands, and to me, that said that Marcos Candido's the new kid on the block, and no disrespect to Francisco Maldonado or John Dakota, the young kid on the block, right? 2 retirees versus a 25-year-old kid who very smartly positioned himself as the anti-establishment. He said, as I interviewed him right here, he said, Dakota and Maldonado are the same people as far as I'm concerned. They're the establishment. I'm the difference. I'm the change. I think he got his people to watch the podcast, and I think they liked what they heard from him.
I mean, that statement that you just made, "I'm the change," I think that's what people bought in at in the Belvedere, and they bought in the Highlands.
And in
the Highlands, and I'm sorry, in the ACO.
in all three districts. Not a single incumbent topped the ticket.
No.
Last night, in one of them, ''J'' 𝐃𝐚𝐢𝐥𝐲 lost his seat. He'll serve through the end of the year, but that's it.
And ''J'' ran a good campaign,
and he did well. He got it. He finished third. He didn't finish last, which some folks were predicting.
But the thing is, no, he peaked at the right time in a sense. But Corey does much better during a regular election, but what you have to do in these cases, in the primaries, when we voted for 18 people,
sure,
to put you could get in.
Correct.
Yeah, I mean,
now you got to be one of two.
And if you didn't, I mean,
right,
you weren't going to make it. Anyways,
that was a pretty good sign.
I mean,
yeah.
there a few people, but some people got shots, and it was a message to them. But the thing is, you had a chance. This is an entirely different game.
All right. We're going to break down the races. We're going to break down the numbers and talk about what they mean, what they meant last night, but also what they might mean for November. We've got His Worship, His Honor, former Lowell Mayor Bill Samaras with us. Let me just quickly thank our Daily Pulse sponsors. We told you about Ray Booten. You can find him online, realestaterayBooten.com. Thanks as well to WellPoint at WellPoint. Your whole health is their whole point. Washington Savings Bank, banking that feels like home. Make the switch now to Washington Savings Bank. TMI Properties, TMI Cares, developing and managing their own properties for over 30 years. Experience the quality, the care, and the value of making TMI the choice for your home. Thanks as well to Mahoney Oil, providing warmth and protection as generations of families since 1925. The Greater Lowell Community Foundation, improving the quality of life in our communities through strategic, impactful philanthropy. And by Francis E. Preventure Insurance, the agency Greater Lowell has counted on to insure its most valuable assets since 1982. Thank you to all of our sponsors. You see them all scrolling across your screen there as well, along with the political sponsors. Back with Bill Samaras here. All right, let's start. We'll do them numerically. Yeah. District 3, Belinda Duran tops the ticket. Again, as I explained, 453 votes, not the 553 we reported last night. Not a surprise. She ran a really good campaign. She had a huge presence. Might I add, she was the largest advertiser of the candidates on InsideLowell. I'm just gonna put that out there. I know it had nothing to do with it, but if you're superstitious. But
the issue I raised about the podcast that people are seeking the information, in these areas. I mean, it's obvious.
Yep, that's where they're getting it. Nope, I don't think anybody was surprised. A lot of people had her in the top 2, especially once they got a sense of who she was as a candidate and the kind of campaign that she was running. She was very impressive. I'd never met the woman before. I probably had at various events, but never really stood out to me. But she ran a good campaign. I would have guessed Belanger or Gendron for second place. It was actually Dan Finn.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people were surprised by how strong of a second he ran. 378 votes. He was 22 and 53, so 75 votes behind Belinda Duran. Corey Belanger, third at 344. Erin Gendron at 278. A lot of people were surprised she finished fourth in that race. And I think I said this last night. When you talk to people in March and April, they would have told you she was going to be the ticket topper.
Well, I think a lot of people brought that up because the Gendron name has a good reputation in the city. But her father-in-law has been out of the city for a number of years, okay? And the issue is there are so many new people that have moved into the Belvedere area that do not know the Gendron name.
You made the joke off air to me that you went to vote and nobody recognized you, and you were a counselor through 2020.
Yeah.
Through 2021. So
I had to spell my name at every desk.
But so a lot of new residents, and again, going back to the earlier theme, it seems there's a little bit more of a left bent in those new residents. So what do Belinda Duran and Dan Finn have to do now to be the one who's ultimately celebrating on November 4th?
Well, I think that's going to be an interesting race, and Finn, I think Duran, I think she's got quite a lead, really, and because of this victory, I mean, she's picked up voter identification a lot more so. So she's now, there's no discussion whether she's a serious candidate or not.
Right. There's a momentum that people get in the preliminary. We saw this in 2021. Corey Robinson only got stronger in November. Ditto with Paul Ratayem. When you saw some results that were surprising, not in who finished first, but by how much, November didn't change that necessarily. So you have to be feeling good if you're Belinda Duran. Conventional wisdom was that Dan Finn and Corey Belanger were drawing voters from the same pool.
They were, yeah.
So I totaled their vote total last night, 722. If you total Belinda Duran and Erin Gendron's vote totals, which many people thought were also drawing from the same pool, you have 731. 731 to 722. We'll probably get more voters than turned out last night. It was 1,472, a 14% turnout. We'll probably get that up to 18 to 20%, right? So a lot of people who didn't vote on September 9th will vote November 4th. Do all of Belanger's followers, do all of his 344 votes go to Finn, or do they say, no, we're gonna go to Duran? And conversely, do Gendron's 278 voters, where do they go? Do we have a sense of that?
I think Gendron's, I mean, her thing was more of a centrist than, we'll say, left wing.
Right.
Okay. But Finn and Belanger, Finn will pick up, I think, a good number of Belanger votes. But the issue is, you can't, I mean, that's not going to make the victory. It's how, there's probably going to be a couple of debates. That's going to be one indicator, a strong indicator. But how they use the media now to get their name out there. I mean, Finn did some interesting things, and we talked about it last night. One of the things, the day before the election, he was out at Market Basket on a rainy Sunday, waving to people going into Market Basket. I mean, and it looked good in a sense, because I had several people call me by phone. Did you see? We're all talking about who's doing what to get an idea who could come up with who's going to win. I'll say one thing. I mean, every week it changed. I mean,
yes.
Belinda went from top sometimes to dead last by some people, and then it was Belinda and Gendron. It was Finn and Belanger and Finn. It changed so many different ways.
It certainly did. And it was funny. I texted all 10 candidates who were on the ballot yesterday at about 6 o'clock or probably a little before that. Yeah. Hey, how you feeling? What are you seeing out there? Or do you get a sense that you're getting your voters to turn out? Erin Gendron told me she's feeling really well. She said, I'm seeing the moms show up. Yeah. So clearly a younger candidate, right? Yeah. She was counting on the moms. Do those moms go to Belinda Duran or do they go to Dan Finn? Is there a generational thing here where Belanger, Finn, and Gendron are closer in generation to Duran?
I think right now it's who's more left and who's more right. Who's the centrist? Belvedere has always been, we'll say, a far more liberal area of the city in the vote than the rest of the city. It's always been that way. Any minority, especially when we had the old farm, that got elected because of Belvedere. Not that they lived in Belvedere, but because of Belvedere. So the thing is, I think it's going to be a battle.
All right. Well, we'll be watching for those results. And again, turnout, 1,472 voters out of 10,505 registered, 14% turnout. from the top of the turnout ladder to the bottom rung. 340 people out of 8,417. 4%, barely 4% of the voters turned out in the acre.
Yeah.
Sidney Liang won last night with 148 votes. The incumbent, Paul Ratayem, had 105. Jose Cervantes had 84 votes. Yeah. 340 total votes.
Yeah.
Paul Ratayem won that seat in 2023 with 359 votes himself. From 𝐃𝐚𝐢𝐥𝐲 different. There were 535 voters in 2023, which was a low turnout election, by the way. Can the acre even get to 535 right now?
I mean, with all the work that's been done in that area and all the organizations that have been involved, they certainly should be able to get up to 5. It's shocking. It really is. But the thing is, with Yem, he certainly needs to improve his work. I mean, it's obvious he didn't work hard enough. 359
votes in 2023, 105 last night. That's a drop off of 254. Did all of those voters stay home, or did a good number of them just say, you know what, we like Sidney Liang or Jose Cervantes better? Has he lost support to go along with it? Clearly, clearly a lot of his voters didn't show up. You can see that. But did Sidney Liang peel that off? That
vote looks like he lost votes.
I think he did.
Yeah.
I think he did. Now, the other dynamic in that race, and I talked about this at the end of our broadcast last night, Jose Cervantes and Sidney Liang do not like each other. Their camps do not like each other. They've been fighting on social media for the better part of 3-4 weeks, and it's nasty. They were very civil on the debate here, but it's clear these candidates don't like each other. Does Jose Cervantes go out and work for Paul Ratayem and try to gather some Hispanic vote? Now, he only got 84 votes. Again, you'd have to figure in November, maybe that becomes 100 and something votes so that he can bring up. But can he bring him out for Paul Ratayem if he endorses Paul? This is conjecture on my part, but I think that's where we're eventually going to be going. Does he make a difference in
he could help.
November?
Nobody can really take their votes and give them to somebody else. People just going to go another way. But I would say if he could work with Paul Ratayem, it would help. It would help him a lot.
I think it helps too. I question how much. Paul was 43 votes behind. That was a sizable margin. So of those 84 votes, did they all vote for Jose Cervantes, or did some of them vote against Paul Ratayem? They said, we're going to vote against the incumbent. We just like Jose better than Sidney. And would they be inclined to say, okay, we're still going to vote against the incumbent. Let's go to Sidney.
The thing is that the issues, I mean, the more liberal issues that they're supporting, if that Cervantes voters could go right to Lang, to him.
I think that's a very real possibility, and I think Paul Ratayem is going to have to do a lot of work between now and November 4th or whenever early and mail-in voting starts to get that going. All right, from there we go to the upset of the night.
Really,
quite frankly, Bill, and I know it's not the general election, but in terms of district races, preliminary or general election, I cannot remember a bigger upset on election night than Marcos Candido winning by 7 votes over the incumbent John Dakota. 272 votes for a first-time candidate, a young candidate, a kid that had barely any money to spend on a campaign, versus a well-established candidate, well-known in the city through his years on the school department, through his years as a transportation director.
No, his name is well-known.
Through 2 years of being a city councilor. I know he was disappointed last night to finish in second place at 265. Quite frankly, most of us thought it was going to be Dakota versus Maldonado in November. Now we're looking at Candido versus Dakota. So here are the numbers.
You're right. That was a surprise.
Out of the 9,785 registered voters in District 8, the Upper Highlands, 752 showed up to vote, a whopping 7.7%.
Yeah.
Why is that important? Well, because if you look at John Dakota's vote total, 265 last night, and you look at John Dakota's vote total in 2023 when he beat 𝐃𝐚𝐢𝐥𝐲, there was no preliminary, so we're talking general election.
Yeah.
But it was a 7,500 person general election. It wasn't a big turnout election anyway. John Dakota got 801 votes.
Yeah.
Did he lose voters? Again, I'll ask the same question. Did he lose voters to Marcos Candido, or did John Dakota's voters, for some reason, decide to stay home?
A lot of them did stay home. There's no question about that. I mean, it was a lovely day yesterday. And
it was a lovely day to go vote.
It was a nice day to go vote. But, you know, I also, after I voted, went to Market Basket later on and met some people and said, who did you vote? Oh, Bill, yeah, I'm going to, I'll be there during the regular election. You know, you weren't running, so.
Yeah, so there are votes that are to mine in Belvedere, right?
They just didn't show up. But
that 1472 will become 1,800 to 2,000 if I had to wager, right?
But the thing is, Candido, because Candido won over Maldonado and what have you, this was not an anti-Dakota vote, okay? It was a vote because Candido has new ideas, different ideas, and is much more to the left.
Clearly. There's a clear distinction. Yeah. There was a clear distinction between the two of them.
That's what I see out there. It's not anti the administration at this particular point. This is anti-thought. I mean, that's the only way I can describe it. I mean, I just don't like the way you think, and you know, you're a nice guy, but I'm voting this way.
So, of the two incumbents that finished second last night, but thankfully get another bite at the apple in November, who's got the bigger uphill climb?
Dakota, with a modicum of work, will be okay. Paul Rathiem has to work.
I think so too. Again, no disrespect to Marcos Candido.
Because the votes are so small there.
Correct.
Okay.
That's 43 votes is a big number to flip.
Yeah.
So Dakota, 7 votes. I think Dakota can flip that. As I said, he got 801 in 2023. Are some of them going to go a different way? Sure. But, I mean, 𝐃𝐚𝐢𝐥𝐲 got 387. But can Candido jump up to 500? Will Dakota fall to 700 or 600?
Candido can pick up so many votes this way or that way. But the thing is, where the votes are really so small with Paul Rathiem, I mean, either one of them could identify with somebody who could bring him in 15 votes. So say Paul Rathiem has 3 or 4 people get onto his campaign, they can pick him up 15 people each. He's going to win.
But Sidney Lang is going to get more than 148 votes. He's going to get, clearly we see in this system that you pick up steam. And by the way, winning, topping the ticket instead of finishing second, creates a momentum and I want to call it an inevitability, right? The voters now think, this isn't just the challenger. This person, Belinda Duran, topped the ticket. Paul Rathiem, Sidney Lang topped the ticket.
Okay. Belinda has more of, she's more challenging. She's one that's setting the race. She's the thoroughbred you have to catch. In Yem's race there, the votes are so few. I'm saying, they'll all pick up a couple of extra votes each or a few extra votes. But if either one has to bring in people that can go out and actually get them the votes. I'm talking about, hello, you're gonna, Teddy, I need you at the election. I'll pick you up and get you at the election to vote.
Yeah.
That's how you're going to win there.
So there were 340 voters, as we mentioned, last night in the Acre, 535 in the 2023 general election. That's 195 additional voters. But when you finish 43 behind, to pick up 43 voters out of 195, that's difficult math. You need to win those voters who didn't show up overwhelmingly, or you have to convince an overwhelming number of Jose Cervantes' voters to come to you.
But the thing is, usually on a vote like this, in a primary like this, you would say that the candidate himself or herself, their vote didn't come out and will come out during the regular election.
Let's look at the other races in November. If you're an incumbent, do you have some reason for concern? And the ones that are being challenged are Wayne Jeunesse by Sean McDonough. I did talk to Sean McDonough last night. He actually sent me the charter school numbers that put Candido over the top there. And so I did speak with him. He was ecstatic. He was emboldened. He was heartened. He saw Marcos Candido win, and he said, why can't I? And again, you're talking about a low turnout district generally in the downtown. So should Wayne Jeunesse be a little bit nervous?
I don't think so. Kim Scott, no. I mean, Kim's put in a lot. Both Wayne and Kim have put in a lot of work, and I think there's a lot of people in their constituency that will vote for them because Wayne Jeunesse did light up the alleyways on such and such street. He did make sure, he's done a lot of work in the downtown. I've seen that. Kim Scott, in just about every meeting, she's gone after certain streets or what have you. So I don't see them having any problems.
All right. Conversely, do the three incumbents who don't face challengers, Danny Rourke in District 1, 𝐃𝐚𝐢𝐥𝐲 in District 6, and who am I forgetting here? No, I'm forgetting somebody.
Vesna.
Oh no, Vesna's in the
citywide.
Corey Robinson in District 2. Yeah, so they don't face challenges. Yeah. Are they breathing a sigh of relief after watching last night and saying, if there is an anti-incumbent mood, or if there is a shift, or if there is a leftist shift, thank God we don't have anybody already on the ballot against us.
I think if you're running unopposed,
you always breathe a sigh of relief, right?
Why not?
Conversely, will you or I, as we're trying to size up these races and we gather here again on November 4th for the general election, are we as quick to discount Sean McDonough and Sherry O'Connor Barbosa as we might normally be because of what happened last night?
I think last night you saw the best shot. You saw them, whoever won or got the votes. You saw their best day. I think. I think the incumbents still have the edge, but they have to work for it. They really have to work.
In a local election, especially in a district race, small turnout race, there is no substitute for work. Did Paul Rattayem make a mistake by staying extra time in Geneva? And I know he paid his own way, but I know Corey Belanger, when I spoke to him, and nobody's been more gung-ho about Frontrunner City than Corey Belanger, but he said to me, I can't go to Geneva. It's the home stretch. I need to be out there dealing with issues, but also out on the campaign trail.
He was. I mean, he would have lost by even more if he did that, because that would just be seen as people look at something like that and they don't look at it well. Yeah. They say, you think you got it in the bag? Yeah, you don't have my vote.
So I do think there's a component that Paul Yem and John Dakota were hurt by going to Geneva. Paul Yem extended his stay, missed the candidates forum that we held here. I understand why they went, and I think they should have gone for the couple of days. But I can see where the voters would say, "Hey, you're in the, you're 10 days away from an election. What the hell are you doing across the pond?"
Danny turned around. He was more in the air than he was at the meeting.
Danny Rourke was back on Tuesday.
He attended all the meetings and then just got in the plane and left. So No one's going to criticize you for that. But staying a week vacation, I'd like to stay for a week too. I mean, that's what people will say. That's what people will do. I mean, it's unfortunate, but it's how you're measured, and you're held to. I mean, it's not that you're held to a higher standard. You're held to a standard. Now you have to figure out what is that standard.
All right, lots to unravel. Good recap. Your worship, Mr. Samaras, thank you so much for being here today. Also, thank you for being a part of the Daily Pulse that will run tomorrow, an interview with Mark Keeley from the Frontrunner City.
That was a good
crew.
interview.
Very informative. It's not a Lowell politician or a Lowellian's vision of what Frontrunner City is going to mean for the city. It's a guy who's actually been through it a number of times in his hometown of Toronto and other parts of the world talking about it. It's a discussion you won't want to miss. That will drop Thursday at noon. Bill Samaras was my co-host on that as well. He was here last night.
Imagine having him here.
Oh, it would have been great if he could have come here. But listen, do you want to just roll a card into the front office over there?
Why not?
You've been here for 3 podcasts now in less than 12 hours.
Why not?
So thank you so much. I appreciate your effort and your inside analysis, especially on that Belvedere race, as that is the district that you live in and know very, very well. Thank you, sir. And of course, thank all of you for tuning into the Daily Pulse as well. It's the show that keeps its finger on the pulse of Lowell and the world around it, and it drops at noon every day. We already told you what's in store for you on the Thursday, September 11th edition Daily Pulse. Mark Keeley, you don't want to miss that discussion. Then on Friday, it's the debut of the Daily Pulse Live. Every Friday, we're going to go live here on the Daily Pulse starting at 10 a.m. and give you an opportunity to become part of the fun, to leave your feedback, to leave your comments. And those comments will be delivered, I should say, on the Shaw Farm Pulse line. Just dial 978-PULSE-IN. That's 978-PULSE-IN. And if I could remember the numbers off the top of my head that spell out Pulse In, I would tell them to you. But don't worry, we'll make them available to you on the show and through other forms as well. So big doings here. The Inside Lowell Daily Pulse going live on Fridays beginning this week. Till next time, everybody stay safe. Enjoy your day out there, and I'll see you on the other side.